My name is Sam Holness, and this is my dad. He is my coach, bike mechanic, taxi driver, nutritionist, and my friend. Today, I want to talk about my goal of raising the awareness of autism through sport and how my career as an endurance athlete will hopefully encourage others like me and from other neurodiverse backgrounds to take up sport. My goal is to become the first triathlete with autism to compete at the IMA World Championships in Kona, 70.3 World Championships, and the first to become the professional triathlete with autism. I also want to use my sports career to help raise the awareness of autism around the world.
Autism is an invisible disability.
Many times when I go to a race, I may be the only athlete on the spectrum, but I can never tell. I would like to meet more autistic athletes to understand how they train and cope with competition.
There are lots of other autistic triathletes. These include Chris Morgan, I think he's an Australian Olympic rower, Anthony Yanni, basketball in the US, Jessica Jane Applegate, swim in the UK, Michael Jackson, who has been on one of Autism Canada's events before, and John Howard is a mixed martial arts fighter. I think John only was diagnosed at 33 years old. So how do we get into sport? I'll just briefly tell you this, and then Sam can tell a bit more about himself. So I'm not a coach by profession. Sam was not a youth athlete. He had to learn to swim, cycle, and run. And the running's really important, and the cycling, because you think you don't have to learn to run, but if you're going to be at the top level, you have to learn to run. And Sam's motor skills were weak when he was younger, and we've had to develop those. Taken longer, but we're getting there. You only started running park runs, wasn't it? Yeah, 5K park runs.
Yeah, it was park runs.
Yeah, in 2011.
Yeah, in Richmond Park.
Richmond Park, and he did his first triathlon, long distance, half distance triathlon in Portugal in Cascais in 2019. That was swimming in the sea. What was that? 1.9 kilometers swim.
It was, yes. 1.9 kilometers swim, 90k on a cycle, and a half marathon.
Wow. Then we also were fortunate enough to get Sam to university, where he did a degree in sports science. And after university, there were a lot of jobs for him because he was on the spectrum, but he was getting better at triathlons and sports. So we thought, why not? Let's see if we can get him to become a professional triathlete. So Sam could swim, cycle, and run. What we didn't know was that he had the focus to do endurance sports. But we should have known it, because he was pretty focused all the way through his life. He was relentant and determined with most of the things he did. We just probably missed it as parents.
My story so far, I am 28 years old, and I am a triathlete with autism, and I live in the UK. I graduated from St Mary's University with a degree in sports science. I am coached by my dad, who left full-time employment to support me on my journey. I want to inspire autistic neurodiverse communities to explore their own potential and overcome perceived limitations. In 2020, I was recognized as one of the 100 most influential people with a disability in the UK by the Shaw Trust. I am sponsored by Union sports brands Hoka, Onioni, Hoop, and Cefero. I am an ambassador for the UK charity Ambitious About Autism, and have presented by the Uranus Academy in Canada. I have competed numerous 10Ks, half marathons, and Olympic and 70.3 triathlon races.
I think there are a couple of things here I just want to highlight, in that Sam's going to university was a lot a lot of hard work. We worked with them every day, the tutors, the university providing support. So it can be done, but it is really, really hard work and requires a heck of a lot of commitment. I gave up my job because when COVID hit, I could have gone back to work. But I thought doing this with Sam was probably the most important thing that I could do. And the best part of it, it has been so, so rewarding. I think the other big part of this that was really surprising to me, but we're just pleased for, is that the three companies, Hawk-Eye, Hoob and Savello. Savello, some of you may or may not know, is a billion-dollar Canadian company. Hoob is a UK wetsuit manufacturer, and Hawk-Eye only make running shoes. These organizations have invested in Sam through bikes, clothing, so he can actually do his sport, and occasionally paid for some of his trips and his races as well. So I think without them, it's not possible. I think the message I want to give here is that it's not just about doing a 9-to-5 job anymore. We take the risk by doing something as an outliner, by putting Sam into sport as a triathlete. He loves it, but the other good thing is that if it motivates others to do sport, then we've more than actually, done our job. And the last thing is about the charity, which is about autism. They've been so supportive in sharing Sam's story with the UK and the rest of the world about Sam's journey and what he's doing.
I was also non-verbal until I was 6 years old, and didn't ride a bike until I was 40, so it's never too late. I could swim before I could talk. I am still challenged when I communicate with people and during new situations. Before I became a triathlete, I did trampolining, archery, and judo. I decided to tackle the world's toughest and most inspirational endurance sports because I wanted to use sport to raise the awareness of autism, and because I wanted to get healthier.
So, the story is, 3 years old, Sam could swim, and it was quite interesting. We were at the pool, and there's a swimming coach there, and he saw Sam. I think like all parents, we were so worried about Sam, so we put him in arm bands and body flotation aids. And the best thing is Sam had no fear. He went straight in the deep end and was paddling up and down. I remember Carl saying to us, I can teach him to swim in an afternoon without any of the aids. And we were really scared. And I just had a bet with him. I said, if you can teach Sam to swim in the afternoon, I'll book 10 lessons. And we shook hands on it. And Sam learned to swim without any aids in an afternoon, because at that age, he was entirely fearless. But we would never have known if Carl didn't actually raise that challenge. And about Sam's autism, it's really about communication skills. Still challenged by new situations. I mean, what you'll see later in the video, you hear about Sam doing a triathlon, has taken 28 years to get here. It's not happened overnight. Everything about putting on a wetsuit, going into the sea, crowds of people around him, and noise. We've had to, not say we've overcome them, but I think with triathlons and races, Sam wants to compete so much that he can shut out all of those issues around noise and people and just focus entirely on the race when he's actually doing it. The other thing I'd say is that Sam, you got a brown belt in judo, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we probably will go back after COVID subsides to try and get Sam to get a black belt in judo as another thing that he can do. But I just have to say to you, when Sam was 14, so to his late teens, we didn't know that he'd be able to do sport. It's just happened very, very late that it's actually occurred.
In September 2021, I became the first known person with autism to race at the 70.3 World Championships in Utah. Here's a picture of me swimming in a reservoir. The second one shows me cycling in the hot sun, and me running in in West.
I'm not sure if you won your medal, Sam.
And that's me received them, and that's my medal that I received during the race.
Was it
After the race.
Yeah.
Every day I train, eat, sleep, and then repeat. I train between 20 and 30 hours per week. A hard day involves a 3-hour bike ride on my indoor turbo trainer, followed by a 20-kilometer run. Each week I swim around 20 kilometer, cycle for 10 hours, and run 40 kilometer plus strength and conditioning. Friday is my rest day, where I do as little exercise as possible. I nap for 2 hours each day between workouts to aid recovery. I cook my own breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Nutrition is important because I have irritable bowel syndrome. My favorite meal is chicken wings, gluten-free spaghetti, and vegetables with a milkshake. Each night I do 1 hour of yoga and planks and stretching before I go to bed. When I'm not training, I play computer games and read Harry Potter books.
So what's your favourite Harry Potter book, Sam, so far?
My favourite has got to be The Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah. Is that also your favourite Harry Potter movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the best thing about Chamber of Secrets?
Yes. How did this? What's my best part of? My best part of the Chamber of Secrets. My favorite. My favorite one is the. My favorite one is in the writing on the wall.
Writing on the walls, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you enjoy Harry Potter books?
Yeah.
What book are you up to now?
I'm currently at The Goblet of Fire.
Yeah. Which number is that?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
CNN Sport kindly made this video about me.
Sam Holness is a young athlete with a dream: to compete at the famous Kona Ironman in Hawaii and to change perceptions of what autistic people are capable of. Sam is 27, learnt to swim before he could talk, and with the help of his parents, particularly Dad, Anthony, has been a triathlete since 2016.
I'm excited about triathlon. It's like my job and my occupation. What I like about it is the 3 disciplines: the swim, cycle, and run, and the best part, they're all the medals.
What are you thinking when you're competing with all these other triathletes alongside you?
I feel like I can beat them. So if they try to catch up to me, so if they get away, sometimes I'm like, come on, get going, catch up to them.
Rather than a disability, Sam calls his autistic diagnosis a personal determination and says it helps rather than hinders.
Every time I do sports, autism it's been building up my confidence, self-esteem, and reduces my stress and boredom.
Is it true that you call autism your superpower?
It is a superpower.
Which is why this lover of Disney and comic book films has been nicknamed Super Sam Holness. Anthony has retired to dedicate himself fully to his son's career. They call each other Timon and Pumbaa from Sam's favourite movie, The Lion King.
Just take risks, that's what life's about. It's about enjoying it, and he enjoys it, so we support him.
How proud of him are you?
He's my hero, I think, is the way I always explain it to people. I know he's my boy, but he's incredible. I love him so much.
Normally, Sam can be found running or riding around Richmond Park in West London. He likes the independence of getting there and back himself. With an IQ over 75, Sam doesn't qualify for the Special Olympics, and he's ineligible for the Paralympics because he has no physical impairment. So he competes in regular triathlon events, although he's usually the only black autistic competitor.
I just think there are no icons. There's nobody like Sam, for example, who looks like them. who they can point to and say, wow, look at that guy, you know, I want to be like him. So that's sort of where Sam sits. Hopefully we can encourage, you know, more people from, you know, the BAME community to join in, and people who have disabilities start doing triathlons. It's been great for Sam, it really has.
Now they have their sights set on the Kona Ironman, a grueling 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride and full marathon run in the heat of Hawaii. Super Sam Holness setting out to race and to change the way we think about what autistic people can achieve. Alex Thomas, CNN.
It's a puma. It's like he's warthog, not a meerkat.
So just for me, you know, Sam says I'm bike mechanic, taxi driver, coach. I do a lot of things to support him and to make life easier for him as an athlete. And I manage training plans. And I think the training plans, I used to tell Sam what to do, but increasingly, I mean, he's the guy with the sports science degree. We work together. We have a very democratic approach to how we do Sam's planning. Increasingly, you know, you do your own plans and choose what exercises you're going to do, don't you? Yeah. And, you know, I made a decision. I had a choice of going back to work in the corporate world or giving up work and retiring early to support Sam. And there really wasn't a choice for me. It was a very easy choice and probably one of the best choices I've made in my life. It's so rewarding. Our goals are simple. We want to motivate others with autism and their families to engage in sport, and that's globally. Once we race at our Ironman World Championship in Kona, we've already done the World Championships in Utah. Maybe in 2022 we can do the World Championships in Europe before we go to Kona, and then after that it's up and away to try to get Sam to become the first autistic professional triathlete in the world. And it's about having a lifelong career in sports, Sam, isn't it? Be a long distance swimmer.
Yeah.
And a trail runner as well. Yeah.
Oh.
And to become self-sufficient. I think that's the goal of all parents and all people on the spectrum with ASD. And coaching Sam is so rewarding. You know, I'm not a coach, but I think he's the best athlete out there, the best sort of athlete that any coach would actually need. And my reasons behind that are fairly simple. The things I've learned. So communication is key, and that's in any profession that any coach or any teacher will tell you. But for Sam, because of his communication challenges, it's significantly more important. Sam needs a coach who's close to him and can work with him on a regular basis, not a virtual coach online. We found that a lot of coaches speak fast, far too fast. There's too much banter going on. And Sam learns visually as well. I think the main thing we learned about coaches and coaching is that not enough coaches are trained to coach athletes on the spectrum. That's a big gap in the market, and a big challenge that needs to be addressed. We also think that schools and coaches have low expectations of athletes with autism. I also think there are a lot of athletes out there, great athletes who are on the spectrum, who have either not been diagnosed or don't want to say they're on the spectrum because of the stigma associated with it. I think for me, the last couple of things in terms of coaching an athlete or a child or adult with autism is that giving clear and precise instructions and to speak slowly and clearly. I mean, it may seem obvious, but it's not always obvious to most of us. It's not been easy. So we've been to ed sites and speech and language therapists, physios, I mean, the whole gambit. I've dealt with Sam's autism. But one of the problems is the school he went to set low expectations for Sam. So we challenged head teachers, health professionals, everybody to try and get, you know, to get help with Sam's autism. And in addition, in the UK, boys from Black Caribbean backgrounds, a lot of them excluded from school. I think what's happening in the system is they don't recognize, autism or ADHD and the behaviors, and just excluding them rather than actually guiding them and looking for that special gift and nurturing it. And because of these sorts of issues, perceptions in schools as well, Sam's chances of success were even more challenging. And we just had to fight hard as parents to overcome it. Sam, why don't you tell a story about what happened at school for the swimming gala?
It's during the swimming gala in school years. When the teacher was who was to participate in the swimming gala, I put my hand up, and when I saw my hand raised up, they were like, "Can someone swim?" Answer: I have been swimming when I was about 3 years old.
And I think the school didn't recognize that Sam was one of the best swimmers in the school. And that happened at around 14. They probably had lots of swimming galas that he missed. And I think it's that sort of opportunity that sometimes schools miss, but also because they're not trained to see it. I'm not blaming them, I'm just saying we need to actually try and change the system. So we talked about some of the goals, and I think the main reason that we were driven to push Sam into sport is not one because he couldn't get a job, because they're not employing a lot of people on the spectrum. I think only 60 to 20% of adults on the spectrum have full-time jobs in the UK, and a lot of those are volunteering. And I think only 7% of graduates on the spectrum with autism have full-time jobs. But it was to do with health. The life expectancy in the UK for adults on the spectrum is significantly lower than those who are neurodiverse. But what we also learned is that the illnesses that the adults on the spectrum had were curable. They were obesity related, because we know how fussy and difficult, I don't know what the right word is here, adults on the spectrum can be about food. I mean, Sam's had challenges with food all his life. And without sport, he may have been eating more junk food, I think, actually. But we wanted Sam to live a long and productive life. And since the commitment to sport, his diet has changed. He's much healthier. And we hope, he should have, a normal lifespan of someone who's neurodiverse. And I think the other thing is about racing and being a professional triathlete. It's not a bucket list. This is a career, a life choice. This is what he's going to do as long as he's healthy for the rest of his life. I think the oldest triathlete's about 87 years old or something like that. So, God willing, if he's 87 and still doing this, we'd be very happy. And that just means he can have a long life career, long-term career as a triathlete, swimmer, and trail runner. So our advice, I'll start and talk about living the world of the person with autism. I had to adapt to coach Sam, create a loving environment. I know all of us understand this. I'm just telling you things we know. It may sound obvious, but it's not always obvious. Sometimes things take long to explain, so speak clearly and no shouting. Slow down and realize that, you just have to be patient. I've learned that from Sam. Sam's taught me humility. I have so much more to learn from him as well. And I'm so proud to know this young man as an adult and a young man, because, he could have been off, married, 3 children, and I wouldn't have seen him living in another country. So I take this as a privilege to actually get to know this guy. And I think for sports coaches out there, identify talent earlier. There are a lot of children in schools and colleges and high schools who are on the spectrum, who have talent. Look for the talent and nurture it. Don't overlook them because of the disability. And parents, look out for your child's gift. I'm talking about sport. It might be something else. It might be art. It could be anything, but I'm saying talk about sport. If your child has a love of swimming or running, dance, whatever it is, judo, trampolining, nurture it and develop it, because I just think sport's the future. And what's that last thing, Sam?
Well, that's fine. It's never ever give up.
Never give up. That's what we do. If you fall down, get up and try again.
Well, don't forget to follow at Sam Holness Try.
Thank you very much, guys.
And thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure meeting. It's been great meeting you.